Good morning, everybody. This is October 29th, and it's Tuesday morning. And anyway, I was out working here this morning. It's a little bit chilly. We've had some rain come through, and I'm enjoying the cool weather. But I've got my warm clothes on out here, and I'm kind of cold natured. So anyway, a lot of you know I've worked with generators and alternators a whole lot, and I've coined what I call metronomic parametric oscillation. And the understanding that parametric is just where you're sending more than two frequencies through, and where they combine, you get an amplification. And the pretty simple to do. The configurations that I started off with was converting DC motors, and of course I've worked with the Bedini wheels, the Bedini type configurations, and that's what led me to understanding this event. Still so much to learn, because there's no textbook that I found that'll teach this. And so this part of the presentation of chasing this rabbit hole is what I'm going to try to explain and delve into. Primarily with alternators, we're dealing with a north field and a south field, and the in this configuration that I was working with, the switching gear should have easily handled the way that I had it configured. And some of it's proprietary, guys, so I can't share the whole thing with you, but I can share you my findings as far as what I've mapped out of how this configuration works. And the way that I mapped it out is mapping out the flipping poles. And that's my map, okay? That's my slide rule, if you will, of how I mapped it out, okay? And I know it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to you, but basically understanding the flipping poles of a magnet creating AC current and DC current is what this represents. It's just basically a map to help me understand the telemetry when building devices that I need, okay? And the configuration, I'll have to actually put it down on the ground to show you, but you know, this is a Bedini wheel that I've used for a long time, and I've got magnets. Now, what was really neat about this is I wasn't putting bigger magnets on it or anything. All these magnets are facing out, and they're 120 degrees. I call that my 0 degrees. That's 120. That's 240. And I think I've discovered why when you take a compass, that the compass will run 360 degrees between this point and this point, even though it's 120 degrees apart. And then as you spin it faster, the needle will just go, you know, back and forth as it's rotating. Okay, so as the frequency goes up on that rotation, you get your pulse, but that's all it's doing. Now, in the monopolar configuration of all the magnets facing out north, has been part of the journey, if you will. Instead of going north, south, north, or south, south, north, or however I've configured every way. But to me, north is pressure, okay? And the field of the construct I live in, I feel like south is sucking like a current. So it's, it's a manifested current that's already in play. Okay, and then the resistance potential is where the heat comes from, as that's being resisted. Okay, so I took a portion and remapped the uh, unit of what's happening, and I doubled the degrees. So instead of going 360, I went with 720 just to get a 2D look at the different hemispheres. Okay, and I call this a hemisphere down below, and I call this a hemisphere up above. Now, when you face that magnet one direction in the monopolar configuration, even though there's three of them, you have pressure that is happening through the field and working with nature. Okay, and so this configuration can lead you how to wind an asymmetrical stator. But then again, it also gives you a clue of where to place the magnets to where you don't have any resistance in the function, yet would still spin the wheel. Now, this is something that I've got to prove into, because we're looking for just increasing voltages through magnetism as the control. And I think I may have stumbled on something I wasn't aware of. And also, why, when you have parametric oscillation going on, why the spark wants to jump even wide contacts when you start getting, up at in higher voltages. So I'm going to try to explain what's happening. Okay. Now, the difference when you lay this out on the unit is, if we put that right there, which would be a form of it, you'll notice that the next 120 degrees is way past its mark, where these two lines come together. In other words, where this node is coming together and this node is coming together, I've already passed that mark in the 120 degree layout. Okay, and then I'm going to face this down to where you can see where that's at. That would be lined up with the third node, and as you can see, we're approaching that node. If it was spinning this way, or if it was spinning that way, it'd be leaving that node, and then it's progressive in that layout. That is where I believe the friction that caused my burnout happened. So I'm going to reconfigure another wheel. I'll have to get another one and reconfigure it. And what I'm planning on doing is lining those nodes up there, there, and there. Okay. And that's different than 120 degrees separation. And I would expect in that configuration that I can still make the unit spin, and I can control the voltages. Then it just becomes a device to where I can move that one way or the other to increase the friction. So pretty neat control if it works the way that I think it will. I was very surprised when I laid it out and mapped it out how it worked. So I got to chase this rabbit, because I was not expecting that kind of amperage, enough amperage to burn the component up, especially since I had it controlled. But I got some transient voltage that had to come through and manifest somewhere, and when I laid it all out and everything, I knew that there's no way I could burn anything up, especially at the voltages that I was dealing with this configuration. So anyway, stay tuned, and as we walk through the rest of this process, we'll see how it all comes together. But that was something that I was just very surprised about. So, having fun, and hope you are too. And hope to see you next time. And we'll see you next trip.